Hi, I'm Colleen Caro. Welcome to Avant-Grad, Ohio's Trailblazers. I'm here at the vibrant, engaging PassionWorks, a collaborative community studio for developmentally different individuals and artists in Athens, Ohio. PassionWorks was founded by Patty Mitchell, a two-time graduate of Ohio University's College of Fine Arts. She grew the studio from the seed of a passion flower to an independent nonprofit that now leads workshops across the world. It's a place where diversity, community, and art come to life, and it's a model for how we can create joy, wonder, and lasting relationships with what's right in front of us and within each of us. Stick around to hear about the official flower of Athens, Ohio, and so much more. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Avant-Grad, Ohio's Trailblazers. Hi, Patty.
Hi, Colleen. How you doing?
I am so great. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Super duper fun to have you as a podcast guest on Avant-Grad. I was doing some research, which I always do. I didn't have to do too terribly much on you because we have known each other for 30 some years.
Yes.
which is like shocking to realize, but so fabulous. Maybe has a little bit to do with those Bobcat ties. So we'll talk about that. But you are a two-time alumna of Ohio University. You have a degree, your bachelor's degree, as well as your master's degree in fine art. So we're lucky to have you as a two-time trailblazing alumna. You're an artist and social entrepreneur. I love that, social entrepreneur. And you are well loved locally and beyond. You are. I don't know, I don't know anyone who doesn't love Patty Mitchell. So, well, really, and you're connected to thousands of individuals, whether it's, people you've coached to create art or people who have experienced PassionWorks in some way, shape, or form, or, one of your other projects. And I just want to share, because I don't know that folks really realize this, but to date, there have been more than 30,000 passion flowers sold, correct?
Correct.
Incredible. And passion flowers, of course, are the official flower of Athens, Ohio. Pretty exciting. And there's also, this was something I did learn in my research, that there's a green product line, right? It's jewelry, clothing, ornaments, cards, prints, all the good stuff. And that commissions and the sale of fine art have generated $2.75 million to date. Am I right?
That's our best calculation. Yep.
Wow, that is staggering. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We definitely would call you a trailblazer. So I would like to start with PassionWorks. If you could tell us a little bit about it. So many people know and love the passion flower, but may not know as much about PassionWorks. So tell us, what is it? Because it's much more than a passion flower. What is a sheltered workshop? And how did PassionWorks begin back in 1998?
All right. Well, PassionWorks Studio is a collaborative community arts center, and it's designed to be a space where everyone is welcome to come and bring their natural gifts, talents, interests, curiosity to help make together. And so our core group of artists are artists with developmental differences. And so they are the leaders aesthetically and through content, and we follow the energy that our core artists bring, and then we naturally develop fine art pieces and products that are designed by the people who will build them in production. So this natural process creates very approachable products to the workers. And the design, that's the intention of the design. So people who we get to work with historically may be considered challenging in finding careers and employment opportunities. And so we've turned that inside out. We said, we are working with some of the most dedicated, creative, passionate workforce We just have to find the right jobs, and then we're all good. So the design of the
Right.
passion flower was to create as much employment as possible and as much joy in the process of creating that product. And I mean, we've been making them since 1998, like you said, and we still love making them. So they're made out of upcycled aluminum printing plates from the Athens Messenger newspaper. We get them, we clean them, we paint them, and then people can decorate them any way they want. They can write about Smokey Robinson, which we do, count to 1,000,000. You can put monsters on it, whatever you want to do. So every flower is different. The palette and the shapes are consistent, but every single product is unique. And that's the magic. That's part of the magic, I think, of that
Yeah.
flower. Yeah.
Where did the flower itself, the idea, the concept for the actual design of the flower come from? You designed the flower, right?
Right. I was like one of the engineers. But like
Yeah.
everything that happens at Passionworks, it's a collaboration. It's a coming together of
Right.
multiple personalities, multiple, interests and whatnot. And so the nugget was Carolyn Williams, one of our first Passionwork artists, and she is passionate about drawing flowers. She draws them and draws them and draws them, and her energy, her spirit, she's just so attractive. It's like, and so we wanted to celebrate Carolyn, and we had a visiting artist. Her name's Kate Kern. She lives in Cincinnati, and she showed us how to make paper sculpture through the Ohio Arts Council. And we studied a technique that she'd been studying for years, and then we translated what she shared with us into that metal, because the metal really responded like paper, but it's strong. So when we make a flower, that
Right.
flower is going to last 20, 30, 50 years, 100. I mean, it's here to stay. It's not going to rust. It's its thing. And so that metal became a really interesting material to make art with, and also art products.
And it's such a great study in so many things, in entrepreneurship, in creativity, in art, in design, in marketing, because you started with the passion flower, and before you know it, you're making outdoor passion flowers. You're making them of different materials so they can be outdoors and withstand the elements. There is a themed Ohio University set of passion flowers for our Bobcats out there who don't know that, and those are available on the Bobcat store, and also at Passionworks, of course, and other Ohio University themed Passionworks products. But can you say a little bit about that growth and change just in the wonderful pieces that the Passionworks artists make?
Well, we're really responsive to opportunity, talent, and interests. And, Ohio University is such a huge part of our community. And we were asked to make some Ohio University themed flowers. So, and we did, and it's really fun, so we have those. And then we also work very closely with the Barbara Gerald's Storytelling Institute at Ohio University and Dr. Lynn Harder, who has spearheaded this movement for Turn It Gold. Are you familiar, Colleen, with Turn It Gold?
I am, but why don't you say a little bit about it for our listeners who might not know?
Yeah, of course. And, it's just one of those projects that's just gone wild. It's huge now. It's an organization called Turn It Gold, and it's to encourage awareness and research around pediatric cancer and care and family care. And when Lynn she's been working with us for 19 years, and we decided, well, let's make a Turn It Gold flower. And so we have a gold flower, and 20% of the sales goes to Turn It Gold, and we can help share the story of their mission and create a visual element that helps promote their mission. And one of the things, we really want to support other nonprofits, absolutely. And this one is particularly dear to our heart because people with Down syndrome have a 20 times more likelihood of acquiring some form of cancer, especially leukemia. And it's a little known fact. Yeah. So
yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's awareness, and And then we want to support families who are going through treatment. And then after treatment, I mean, it's a lifelong, it affects families, and communities for a long, 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 long time. And so we want to bring awareness through love and optimism and hope. And so the flowers are absolutely stunning. They're just really beautiful. And we also make giant ones, like 4 or 5 foot wide. So our dream is to connect with hospitals and care facilities to do installations.
I love that.
Yeah. I think that's like one of our next things is like, we're ready to go, man. We're ready to go because once can you see these big giant flowers and such beautiful conversation pieces. And then the flowers also for sale in the gift shops, because a lot of places, especially wards where people are really, you can't bring live flowers onto many wards in different.
Right. But you could give a passion flower.
Yes. So we want to make that available. Yeah.
So how does I do want to talk about Patty, which we'll do in a minute, but when you're talking about growing it and we talked about this incredible amount of sales, but how, I mean, your growth over the years has been so extreme, and starting out small and now branching out to all these incredible initiatives. How does funding work for you, and how has that changed?
Yeah, we've gone through many steps within our evolution. We
Yeah,
originally, we imagined ourselves as a barnacle on an existing boat. So a sheltered workshop, which you asked earlier, is a work
yeah,
environment for people with developmental differences. So they're usually factory style work environments. And here in Athens County, the major job opportunities were capping pens and doing mailing and packaging. And um, and so people would come in and learn these different skills and put things together. So we came in and said we would love to do an experiential experimental art studio and to see if people would be into making stuff. And they were, and we did, and that was through the Ohio Arts Council. It was like I can't even describe it. It was like it had always been there. Like people had been waiting.
yeah.
It was it was just like, okay, like this nature is like brought us all together, and this seems to be something that just needs to happen. And so our overhead was really low, and we made the flowers with the intention of creating a profit that we could use to buy more materials. And then
Right.
the moment that there was enough in our bank account, we hired Wendy Miner, who has been an artist in residence for 20 plus years, and she's absolutely amazing. And
Phenomenal. Yeah.
we're so lucky. I mean, the early days, it was just unbelievable how things fell in, and it was just there was a certain energy magic to it, and then we created more work, and then it became really addictive. Like, wow, if we make our own money, we can just buy things as we need them. And then we would write some grants, but we were never our own nonprofit. We were always doing business with a larger organization, with the Sheltered Workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are our own nonprofit, and we have been completely independent now for a little over 2 years. And so that's been a huge shift. So now anyway, from 2 years ago, we literally had $0 in our bank when we became completely independent, and
Yeah.
there was a transfer of the organization and this and that. And now we're a $500,000 budget per year. And we have staff and core artists, community members. And we are not part of Medicaid, Medicare. We do not receive government funding like on a regular at all. So we have 41% of our budget is derived from our sales. And then we have donations and grants. And then we do a lot of different events. Like we do music festivals, and the puppets go here, so we're
Mm-hmm.
working it constantly.
You are.
Yeah,
Do you, so do you see yourself as a CEO?
I've been called that.
Yeah.
No, I like an
Yeah.
executive director.
Not sure how you feel about that.
Well, I feel like I feel really lucky that we are here, and I have so many people. There's so many people within our organization with incredible talent, and the mission and the culture of our organization is that we respond to the individual talents and interests of staff, core artists, volunteers. And so now, like for example, we our most recent hires were from Ohio University, some grad students, and they're printmakers. And so because they come with this incredible talent and experience with silkscreen, we're now doing a whole textile line. So we're not asking people not to be who they already are. We're hiring them, and then we're adapting to the talent and the opportunities that come with the people that join. And so my job, I get to talk a lot. I get to think about big ideas, throw them out there, and then we have this staff who's just like, okay, let's go. Like, can we do more? Can we do this? Can we do that? And it's like, heck yeah, let's do it. So
Why am I thinking about a passion work print in a great Hawaiian shirt and all these amazing clothing items, Patty? Come on, let's do it.
I tell you, of everything that we do, we are like an amazing design firm. The ideas, there are like, how do you come up with product ideas? It's like we come up with them all day long. And so now it's
Yeah.
like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to produce it, market it, get it out there? But the designs that come out of the studio, the drawings and the artwork, it's so fresh and fun. So, I mean, I can imagine some international shower curtain company coming to us, and
Yes, perfect.
we can redesign almost anything and make it better because the artwork is so beautiful.
I love to see some big padded tub chairs and shower curtains. I mean, the sky's the limit.
It is. So we work with a company. We do cafe printing, and on our website, so you can order socks and coffee cups and shower curtains and bedspreads, and we'll put art on there for you. So, the vast majority of our products are made from upcycled materials and handmade, so that we can create as much employment as possible. And
Right.
and that's kind of makes us different from other businesses, is that our stuff is familiar, but everything is always different. Every piece is different, but similar, but different. So we're in a very different kind of world than most production houses.
When you were talking about employment, you've mentioned it a few times, and it made me think about the collaborations that PassionWorks has done with Ohio University and Ohio University students. In particular, because of my personal experience, I think about the Russ College of Engineering and Technology students, whether it's mechanical engineering students in their Design to Make a Difference senior capstone, or other students who have worked with PassionWorks and with adults who have those developmental differences. By the way, can everyone please just start using that term? It's a really wonderful, loving, respectful, accurate term. Can you talk a little bit about some of those collaborations, maybe some that have stood out to you, or just kind of in general, the kinds of ways that you've partnered to help, collaborate with students and help develop students and help them grow with their own, knowledge of just how to collaborate and be wonderful humans?
Well, I do believe, and I think it's a proven fact that we learn by doing, right? Carnegie said that. And so we see PassionWorks' space, the studio, as an experiential learning center. And we are very intentional with creating a welcoming environment so students can come in as volunteers, always knowing that they have a place that they can go and be comfortable and just relax and be who they are. I think it's really important to have a clubhouse, and even if you're not in there all the time, it's there. We have coffee, we have Wi-Fi, we have friends. It's very welcoming. And then, I am so grateful for my experience at Ohio University that I had a major that I did things like my learning was in the doing. You know, as a photography major,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I could read about photography, but most of my time was taking photographs, and that's how I learn and that's how I am in the world. And so I want to create a space that can be that for other students. And those students literally help PassionWorks promote our mission. So on lots of different levels. So when we come in and we work with different students, like with the engineering students, it's great to be asked, well, what do you need? And then we can say, these are 4 things that we would like you to consider. And then the students have a
Yeah.
choice to see what they're interested in.
Yeah.
So we're always, always interested in creating choices for people and opportunities and expanding choices once we learn what people would like to do. And with one group that came in, we had some ideas and they resonated with doing adaptive equipment for one of our major artists, David Dewey. He was the very first passionwork
Mm-hmm.
artist who ever came in the door. And over time, as we all of our bodies change, his muscle tone has been different, but he is still passionate about making. And one of the students' sister had cerebral palsy, so he was very familiar with different body types and opportunities to approach what does work. And
Right.
they just said, okay, this is what we want to do. And they made this tool for David so he could keep drawing. And they were so kind and patient and attentive, and they did it. And I know it affected them, and I know it supported David on a level that was just incredible. And he still uses that tool today. And that tool can be replicated for other people. So whatever we
Right.
do at the studio is great for whomever is there, but we will share what we learn with everybody and
Mm-hmm.
anyone who will listen or is ready. No holding back. It is all to be shared. And then there was another group from the Russ College, and we said, we wanted to do something kind of funny, and that was turn a crank at one side of the building and then make
Yeah, I
flowers in a
remember that one too. Mm-hmm.
and they were like, okay, we want to do that, and they did it.
Is that still installed at the studio or in the shop?
Yes, it is. And then the idea too is that there's a crank and it's all with upcycled bike parts. You pull, and so you
Yes.
turn here and then the flowers move over here. But if there are more students who want to add to it, they can like kind of click into it, and we can continue the kinetic sculpture in the future if we find those students.
Okay, guys, hope you're out there listening. PassionWorks is ready for you.
Okay, I know, because eventually I want to turn the crank at the front of the shop and then have something move all the way at the back. I just think that would be funny.
Yeah, that would be excellent. I would love to talk a little bit more about your experience as a student. You mentioned, your work with your photo, and there's a significant experience that I know you had at the Ridges, that you spent a year living in the geriatric wing in the mental hospital. Um, I would love to hear a little bit about that. When was it? And how did it change you or inform your work as an artist, or a champion of individuals with developmental differences, or a champion just of the human spirit? Because I feel like there's probably got to be some connection or inspiration there.
Yes, you're right, Colleen. So I had a brother I had a brother with a developmental difference, and who was very involved with his physical challenges to the point where he was institutionalized. And um, and so he was 2 years older than me, and so I grew up with this brother in this other place, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was always very mysterious and like why, so anyway, so you grow up with this feeling of like I can do whatever I want. If I go horseback riding, I go to dance classes, but because of whatever, that wasn't his reality. And it wasn't, but he was always with me. So he passed when he was 12 and I was 10. And as I continued to grow, I made a promise that I would live for the both of us. And so that I would say a near obsession of institutional culture. I started studying them and going and working with people with disabilities and different things. And then when I came here to Ohio University and did a tour, I learned about the ridges. And I thought, okay, this is great. And my parents lived here for a couple of years, and my dad worked at McBee, and my mom was the public health nurse. And so there were ties here in Athens. But when I came as a freshman, I volunteered up at the mental health center, which is the Ridges now. And there were a little over 200 people living there at the time. And on Wednesdays, we'd go and play volleyball. And on Sundays, I'd play volleyball. And I was up there all the time, like doing different activities. And then my sophomore year, I was invited to live on ward in exchange for room and board. And so I jumped at the chance. And I literally had a room just like any other resident there. And I would do activities and bring people into town. And my main ward for activities on location was locked men's. And, I was going to art school, and my friend Ann Randolph had been there, and she had done a lot of theater and writing with people. And I witnessed just being with another person, just sitting and drawing, and just with the intention of just making together. We didn't have to talk. We could talk. It just created a connection that was really beautiful. And I thought, okay, this is like, and I saw profound changes in people. Like I would see Ann walk down the hallway and people would just come to life and they would just yell her name. And it was like, she was associated with fun and doing stuff, having rehearsal, putting on a play, making costumes. It was, really fun. And then on the other side of the coin, I saw a lot of neglect and abuse, and it could have been better. Support could have been better for people. And I thought, okay, this is really powerful. This is good. So I made a commitment then to create an art space for people who are typically on the outside of larger community to be right at the center. And so when people look at PassionWorks, I mean, we are bright and bold and glittery. I mean, we're over the top because it's fun.
Yeah.
But also to bring attention to a group of people who are often not seen. And not seen for the magical beings that they are, as we all are, but just sort of, in a lot of communities, programs are like in industrial parks on the outside of town. You don't, and if you want to go to those facilities, you have to be buzzed in. If you want to volunteer, you have to have a background check and fingerprints and, it's almost impossible to get there. And so my experience of being at the mental health center was that kind of cloistered environment of protection actually created a danger because there wasn't enough eyeballs. There weren't enough eyeballs on everybody. And so everything that you see at PassionWorks is in response to traditional institutional culture. So we are in there, and I believe we're safer because we're open. And we have that's a whole nother philosophy, but we are part of the community, and we're not an abstract thought. People know Passionwork artists by name. And that was one of the interesting things when I first started. I wasn't allowed to mention anybody's last name because of privacy rights. And so we've really grown since then, and people can be full active citizens in their own right and not seen as the other, because they're not the other. We're all fine. We're good. We just create.
We're just different.
We all are, So yeah, that experience as a volunteer up at the Ridges was profound. And I feel like I've been running ever since, recognizing the power of the creative process to create connection, purpose, and belonging.
There's an article about the Ridges in Ohio Today, which is the Ohio University's alumni magazine, and you share a little bit about that experience. And there's this wonderful quote where you say, "I witnessed how beauty, purpose, and the creative process helped people find happier lives. Those memories are vivid and with me every day." And it's just so clear that yes, they are. And what just an incredible story from, your own personal life to having that opportunity, that, community university, collaboration experience that you had. You were a student, you had this experience on the Ridges, and how just your life has followed this incredible trajectory and all the things that you've been able to do because of that experience.
Right. And it is that experience and recognizing and identifying something to help make it better,
Right.
like, right. And so it's like recognizing a challenge. And now we have something that can really respond to that challenge and make things better. And so that's part of the experiential learning center that studio is. It's for other organizations to come in and firsthand, so it becomes their story, what they saw as to how programming can be. And so that is something that is I I'm kind of a freak about, because it's like it's so powerful. And then we have all these Ohio University students having that experience, and they can go do whatever they want to do. Like, they can, if they become librarians, they can be open in a different way. They can, we've taken this model and we've worked in domestic violence shelters, prisons, memory wards, VA hospitals, schools, urban, rural, internationally. It works where it is invited. When leadership is ready to have a new approach that is absolutely supporting the individual interests of the people that they care for, and they're ready, well, we can make it so. So not only do people come in and they see it and get it and have training on site, we also go on location and help organizations start up like programming.
Yeah, you've traveled quite a bit. Tell us a little bit about where you've been, you explained, described the kinds of places you've been, but how far have you gone? Because I know you've gone far and wide. Talk a little bit about your role as a leader and someone who can inspire and inform others as an expert in these areas.
Yeah, I've been to Kosovo a few times,
Yeah.
and it was right after the war, and working with organizations supporting people with developmental differences. Chile, I've gone to Chile, I think 9 times, and worked with orphanages in Santiago and in other places throughout the country, and then down in Patagonia, working with centers that support people with developmental differences. And that was through the Ohio Arts Council. Moscow, Russia. I've been to the Arctic Circle in Alaska, and all over Alaska, Juneau, Kodiak, uh, all over Anchorage. And then, but because the thing is, it's wherever you go, people are the same. They like to do what they like to do. And people with developmental differences are in every single community, internationally, everywhere you go. It is a unifying piece for all of us. And so that's why I would love to work with the UN and train other people in this model, and see how we can build community development. Because when we were in Kosovo, we came across the military. I worked with the American University, and while we were there, we met a lot of Americans who were in the Army, and they were there to do community development, but they didn't know what to do. And they came into our project, and they helped us, and they loved it. And it's like, okay, like, what, how, we just use what we have with the talent that we have, like material wise, and people, and we make stuff. And it's kind of a natural approach, and you don't need big machines, or you just need focus and passion and the intention of finding solutions. And yes, and so I'm and I want to train as many people as possible to be trainers, and then go out and just have this just be better. Because, like, really, Colleen, we're here in Southeast Ohio and Appalachia, and we've been able to build a business and create employment for lots of different people using what we have and just reimagining it differently, and to create an attraction for tourism, for other people to visit, to build on the creative economy. And it's I, it's so much fun too.
You do. You have a great life. One of my questions is just that you always seem so positive. You're so authentic. You're so curious, and whether you are, I just always think about your smile and your greeting. Oh, hi, Colleen, or everyone's name. Whether you're walking through Athens, whether you're on Court Street, making balloons into animals, or you're teaching someone who's not a traditional artist a new skill. And I wonder, where do you get your energy and your inspiration? But at the same time, I think that's obvious.
I think I've been really super lucky, and I came here to Athens when I was 17, right? And I'm not I'm not. I'm fine. Like, my brain is fine. I love being in here. It's but it's different. When I was coming up through school, I was not aligned with the traditional academic studies and learning styles. That was not me. And so I didn't think I had the abilities. I didn't think I had the skill sets, because it was hard for me. It was really hard. And if somebody had just said, ideas are power and full, like, the way that you think is okay, like, you're going to be all right, I would have really relaxed and it would have been better. And I really want to give that to somebody else, that you can learn by doing, that if you have ideas, you can partner with other people. You can find somebody to help edit your paper if, spelling isn't your thing. You're fine. You're good. But when I came here to Athens, I literally got out of the giant Ford Torino station wagon near the College Green. And when I was like, I'm going to live here the rest of my life. I just had a feeling. I mean, I came from the East Coast. Everything's fast, and we moved around a lot. And I don't know if I saw a hippie. I don't know what it was, but I was like, And I've mentioned this to other OU grads, and they're like, I felt that too. It's like, cool. Like, there's something magical.
Yeah, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, didn't get to come visit campus. I just had the brochures, the photos. I had one experience that was an Appalachian experience, and I just kind of felt like I was Alice in Wonderland a little bit with the landscape. But getting to Athens and walking down Morton Hill every day to New South Green, where I lived, and just seeing the rolling hills, it's just a little bit like a wonderland.
It fits really, it just fit really well. And so I made it my major to figure out how to live here, and so,
yeah,
so far so good. Yeah.
So you talked about skills a little bit, and as a society, we've come a long way in recognizing that people have different learning styles. And of course, you spend every day now celebrating that. What were you like as a kid? Were you always an artist? Did you know that about yourself? And then how did you pick up these skills along the way? Was there an experience at Ohio University, or a person, or how did you get to become Patty, the not CEO?
Well, in the 6th grade, we had a visiting artist come, gave us these little plastic cameras, and we shot in the playground, and then we developed the film in the classroom, and pulled the film out of the tank. And I was like, I'm going to be a photographer. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if how you
magic, right?
But I was like, this is it. like, this is it. Because, like with reading comprehension, I didn't really comprehend reading until like the fourth grade. Like, I just couldn't get it, and I've never had official papers of being a dyslexic or whatnot, but I can problem solve. Like, I can take a stick and a string and entertain myself for the rest of the afternoon and make a parade. It's like I can do that. But that investigative approach to problem solving was rare, and so that moment was really powerful to me. And then I worked on the yearbook, and I worked for local newspapers when I was in high school, and then I became the editor and of the yearbook, and my parents were like, okay, what are you going to major in? And I jokingly said from the back of the Ford Torino station wagon, photography. And they were like, okay. And I didn't even know you could. I mean, I'm 16 years old. What do I know, right? And so then I came here to study journalism, and I wanted to be a documentary photographer because I wanted to be of use. And I had never known an artist. I didn't get what they would do.
Yeah.
I was in both sides. I studied journalism, documentary, fashion, fine art. I did all of it, and then realized over a period of time that I love photography. I think it's absolutely magical. But I was telling my story over and over and over again, and that when I created the opportunity for people to investigate their own stories and make their own art, then that was more authentic to me than photographing what I perceived to be the story. And so,
Interesting.
so the studio is like a documentary project for me, that we can pull and cull stories from individual people, and they can learn their own stories that way. And then I use the photography to document that experience so that others can see what's happening and have that unfolding. Because it's sometimes so magical that words aren't enough. They can complement, but
Yeah.
the photos kind of drive it home that it's real.
The studio is like a living documentation where a photo is just, a moment in time. And the studio is, like you said, it's a document.
It is, and photography is like a time machine. You can go back and experience something. And our tight connection with the Barbara Gerald's Storytelling Institute. So I'm a fellow with the Storytelling Institute, working with Lynn, and they do all kinds of video documentary, and we record, and we're finding ways to capture and share these moments.
I do miss your photography. You are, for our listeners out there, Patty is such a talented photographer, and I've always loved your documentary work. Do you get, how much time do you get to work with your own photography, or is that just not really a focus for you as much as the studio?
Well, I photograph every day in the studio, and then it's so it's definitely a part of my life. But I'm not out there making photographs for photographs. I'm out there intentionally, to
Yeah.
document the studio. So it's
So you are doing it every day.
yeah. But but every once in a while I think, it'd be really fun to just go do a story. Which I'm going to write that down, Colleen. I might just go do that because
Yeah, I want to see some Patty Mitchell pictures. Selfish request, selfish request. I'd like to hear a little bit more about, some of your other projects. I know you've done so many things in your life, and there's this other great quote from you from that Ohio Today story where you say, "Connection, purpose, and belonging are necessary for us to thrive as individuals and as a community." And so, I guess I'm curious, what are some of the favorite projects that you've done in your life? Some of the favorite places that you've been, or people you've worked with. Big question, I know.
it is. It's and I would change an answer every day depending on what I was thinking about. I've been so lucky with so
Sure.
many different opportunities. I remember working in schools because I learned how to be an artist in residence through the Ohio Arts Council, going in and doing projects in schools with like 300 kids and coming up with one project, and we would turn a boiler room into a photo studio or use an overhead projector and like make drawings really big. We would do these big flamboyant things. And there would be kids who like some kid would do something and I'd be like, man, that's good. Like, wow. And, and a kid would just look me right in the eye and just say, no one has ever told me I'm good at anything. And
wow.
And I just think the power of paying attention and really responding to another human being, it can be an absolute pivotal moment for that other person, and it doesn't take much. Just, just paying attention and then authentically recognizing something and saying it out loud. And it's so, and that happens often working with people who are perceived as different and really categorized as non-viable citizenry. So people that I choose, like I could work with any organization and group of people that I choose to, I've worked with different members of our population, but I choose to be with people with developmental differences because those are the folks I like hanging out with. And so, I'm here to entertain myself as well. And so I get to hang out with the people I just adore. And so working and I've been to programs throughout the country, internationally, as I said, and I've learned lots of things. Like, so if you have a developmental disability, as it's said in that world, you may not be eligible for organ transplant because you're deemed a non-viable citizen. And this blew my mind that we would negotiate.
That blows my mind. I had no idea.
And so then it comes down to who is a viable citizen. And is it that a person that participates in community, attracts economy, so part of the studio turning a profit is an obsession to me because I want the perception of people to be altered. And if it's about these things, then all you have to do is shift the platform. Because if my only job match in my history was to be an accountant, I would be a terrible, terrible accountant, And if my job match had been putting caps on pens, I would have been terrible at it. And so to have a whole class of people to be expected to do a certain task or have a behavior issue, that's a design problem. That's not a people problem. The people are fine. They're fine. It's how we respond to the opportunity. So, we're constantly wanting to do better and bigger and attract more because for me, it's a matter of life and death for people that I absolutely love. And people who have developmental differences are often underserved within healthcare. And it's because quality of life measurements and people who are in the medical field and doctors, they may have never hung out with or been with, a person with a developmental difference. And their first encounter is as patient-doctor relationship. And they don't know how to communicate. And so what can we do about it? It's like, all right, medical students, come in and hang with us. Come in and hang with us, and just be there. And then we'll talk about it later. But it gives them the opportunity to have a buffer so that they don't have to process all of that in that kind of moment. And so we have worked with different departments throughout the university as a training center, as a learning center, to give people time to process and think differently than larger society says we should, but actually what is. And then these individual stories happen. And I believe that's how we're going to change the world. Not me telling you what to do, and that came from one of our first shows we had at the Kennedy Museum, which was the mental health center. Now it's the Kennedy Museum up at the Ridges. And we had a show, and my friend Rosemarie Basili's class went up and wrote a response paper to the piece. And one of the students basically wrote about his regret of how he and his friends in the neighborhood would beat up another neighborhood kid with a disability. And he wrote about his regret, and he didn't. And after seeing this artwork and reading about the artists and learning more, he had a shift in thinking. And when she shared that paper with me, I was like, oh my God. Like, the art was the vehicle for an experience and a shift. And that's a huge shift. And it's brave to say
It is a huge shift. Yeah.
So his honesty and then that sharing to me changed me, because I went from like, we are going to have a blast, we're going to make this, we're going to make that, to this is bigger than that, even bigger. And so now it's a mission. And it's not a mission for us to lecture or tell people how to think, but to experience something and come to their own conclusion, which is the only way that we go forward in this world.
I love that idea of experiencing, like with the medical students, come and experience and then process later, and that's where that coming to your own conclusion, that reflection happens. And it's not often enough that we give ourselves that time to reflect, or that we even honor that need to reflect. It's really incredible that you're offering that.
Yeah, it's fun to see people come into the space for the first time. It's like, what is this? Like, you can just see some people.
What is this magical place? Yeah, how could you not love it? It is so vibrant and so incredible. How has the last year or so been for you all with the pandemic? It must have presented some extreme challenges in the beginning and along the way. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yes. Our superpower has always been pivoting and responding, and we're like this agile organization, always responding to opportunities and different things. And so when the pandemic hit, and we could hear it coming around the bend, and we work with people who are fragile, physically, and they have
of course
immune systems and things like that. So it was like no risk, like we're closed. Boom, doors went down. I remember the last customer who went out, and we were just like, it was. And so then people went home, and our whole thing was to be this open, engaging space to bring people in. And then we immediately were inside out and upside down. And luckily we just gotten a grant to do some work throughout the county. And we were able to use that money to travel to our artists. And so our artists never stopped working, and we brought materials, hung out, one-on-one, celebrated birthdays. We had a computer in the studio that people could click in and just be present, like a window and like a Zoom always open. And we had art nights through the Athens Foundation on Wednesdays. We continue, because we would have the studio open at night on Wednesdays, and now we do a virtual art night. So, and then we just started really letting the world know that we were still active and going, and our online sales increased incredibly. And we are so grateful to our community and so many people who continued to buy things from us, because that carried us through the pandemic. I mean, it's been really scary for everybody, because it's, we don't know, but we've continued to make things and offer them, and people are buying from us, and we're doing okay.
That's great. Great to hear. So before we close, I have some fun Ohio University highlight questions for you, but how can we in our daily lives, if we want to bring some more of this connection and purpose and belonging and creativity into our daily lives, those of us who are all across the country and world, how can we do that? Because what you do is so inspiring, and just my heart grows bigger every time I talk to you. Any advice?
Well, I would say that the power of play is really, really important. And, like if you sit down and just give yourself time to do anything that you have a tug to do, like if you want to learn how to hand stitch, just start to do, just see what it feels like for that needle and thread to go up and down and up and down. And like, and what happens when you do that? You don't have to buy a kit. You can if you want to, and then when you're working with kids, it's like, just let them be, like, let them explore their piece of paper and their pen, and if they draw a house and you have a bunch of cardboard, you can make a suggestion to turn that box into their drawing, but to set up the structure for play and then surrender the process to the people that you get to play with. And that's where that discovery and evolution happen. And if you can tap into the curiosity of another and your own, then, those stitches will become giant puppets. Those stitches will become fixing your own clothes, but just to allow yourself that play and exploration. We don't allow that for us. I think we're so fascinated with the end products of things that really the process gets us there, and it's super, super fun. You can stitch into cardboard. You don't have to have any. You have so much around you already. Just use what you have.
As you look around your room, what's around here?
I got a lot of stuff.
You do. It's such a great space.
Cicada puppet right there.
So I'd like to wrap just with some what I call Ohio highlights. So just some quick rapid fire, as much as I can make them, questions for you. I'm wondering if you can tell us about a favorite spot you have on campus, maybe both from your time as a student and now. Is there just a spot you love on campus?
I love that amphitheater right in front of the old Scripps building on College Green.
Great space.
I just think I'm always imagining what little performance things we could do there, or just sit there. It's just so nice.
Yeah. What about when you were a student?
When I was a student, it was Galliganusa, I guess, is off campus, and then
that's okay. That was my next question, off campus. So we'll get to that.
I loved Baker Center and the front room, and I spent so much time at Siegfried in the dark room.
The dark room, yeah.
The dark room was just, and I loved being a student here so much. Court Street was fun. I just love the size of the town, and it's so comfortable. That we are familiar to each other here. It's just I love the brick streets and the landscape. It's fun.
Not much not to love, huh? So off campus, you mentioned Galliganusa. You may have to explain what that is.
Oh, it was just a swimming hole. It's like they were just like places to go, like for swimming and going down to Stroud's and different things. And then just walking the ridges, just so beautiful. Sells Park, O'Hooley's, Jackie O's, Casa.
Other memories from when you were a student? Did you have you mentioned the front room and O'Hooley's. Did you have like a favorite food or anything like that? Like something that was a go-to?
I like the Oasis. Do you remember the Oasis? And of
course,
the
burrito buggy, Oasis. Yeah, samosas from the Oasis. Those got me through graduate school completely. Right across from Ellis Hall, we'd have these 7 to 11 poetry workshops at night, and we'd have to like run over on our break and get samosas to make it through.
The bagel buggy, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And another big pull for me to apply here was the international student population, because back then I remember it was 11% were international students, and then I was in Tiffin, and the international dorm was right across the street, so we shared the same dining hall, and then we were just like this all the time, and it was so exciting to be around people from all over the world right here.
Yeah. Was there a significant person for you when you were a student? A professor or a friend, someone who mentored you, just had a big influence on you?
There are many, many. I remember RJ was at the Post. Do you remember RJ? He worked at the
Yes.
Post, and and he on Thursdays he gave me the bat, like I think it was page 4. I could do whatever I wanted. It was like what's happening in Athens, and so I could do whatever I wanted every week, and I loved that. So I would take crazy photos of people on Court Street, and you know, so every week it was like before social media, of course. So it was so I would
Hmm.
like walk up College Green and watch people open up the Post, and if they started laughing, then I was like, did
I may have to look up some of those Patty Mitchell spreads.
it was silly,
It's great.
silly, yeah.
What do you think has changed in Athens most over the years, or one of the things? Lots and lots of changes, but you have some pretty awesome perspective.
Yeah, what has maintained
Tough
is that
one.
if you do offer something, people come. Like like if you say you're going to put on a giant puppet parade, people show up and they help. So
Yep.
there are those types of things, um, and places that where you can just go to hang out and be together. That's I think we're pretty good at it. I'd like to do more of that, hanging out, and I don't know, like what's different. I'm different from back then. So, I've made it my business to create a place where people can hang out and be productive and, supported and whatnot. But I believe in hanging out with purpose. I believe so deeply because everybody's rushing around, but it's like, and the only time we get to see each other is at Kroger's in the produce section. That's not enough. We
Yeah.
need time to really be and share ideas and listen to each other. So we're lucky with all the coffee houses that we have and the brew pubs, um,
Hmm.
and the different festivals that have popped up with the Pawpaw and the Nelsonville Music Festival and the Athens Music Festival, Boogie and the Bricks. I think we're doing pretty good.
I
I think we're
think we
fun.
are.
I think we're fun.
Yeah, we're lots of fun, and so are you, and so is passion work. Patty Mitchell, you are a blessing and a treasure. We love you so much, and just think now you have even more fans. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Avant-Grad. It's such an honor and pleasure and privilege to have you as a guest.
No, it's good to have you as a friend, Colleen.
And that too, absolutely. Thanks so much, Patty.
All right. Thank you.